Hudkins here to talk about real planning, where real estate and estate planning converge. And today I'm together with two of my colleagues, Gary Coffin, COO of Hudkins Law and Hudkins Title, and Sarah Glover, one of our closing executives. And the reason that I've invited them to join today is because they are in the field, on the ground level, at the closing table, and they hear about common title problems firsthand from the consumer, and they're often involved in the cure to title. So Gary, can you talk with us about some of the most common title issues that you might see in practice?
Sure, and believe it or not, nationally, 1 in 4 titles have an issue.
Oh my goodness, that's that high.
It is, yeah, and the most common issue being an undischarged prior lien or mortgage, whereby either the current owner or prior owner had paid off a mortgage or lien and it wasn't properly discharged, meaning the lien is still on title, and that creates a cloud on the title. That needs to be resolved.
So how can we resolve these in-house? What are some of the ways our team is resolving these issues?
Well, we can call the prior lender and try to secure a discharge. If it's a local lender, that's relatively easy. If it's a national lender, sometimes it's a little bit more problematic. You have to make sure you get to the right person. We can sometimes do it ourselves, and sometimes we use a discharge tracking service, which is a company that specializes in ascertaining the discharges.
And it can be usually efficient to cure these title issues. Sometimes there's a small delay in closing. I think Gary's most important point here is that when it's a local lender, often these issues can be resolved very quickly. It's yet another reason to finance with a local lender, because when it's time to pay off those loans, it's more likely that the discharge is going to be recorded and there will not be a title issue that will cause a delay in your refinance or your sale transaction.
Exactly.
So Sarah, what are some of the issues you've seen?
Well, quite often when I'm talking to a buyer, they will say to me, I don't need title insurance because it's new construction.
Oh.
And so that's a myth. I don't need title insurance because it's new construction. I don't need title insurance because I'm buying it from my mother. I don't need title insurance because it's been in the last family for 40 years. So just taking the first one, I can give you an actual scenario whereby some folks bought new construction. It was a subdivision. It was about 70 acres, 70, and this was the first lot to be sold. And what happened was the deed that the buyers were given didn't alter from the deed that the builder had for his whole 70 acres. So a deed would normally parcel out one piece of those 70 acres. In this case, it came to be realized that the transaction had been completed, deeding the first people in the whole subdivision. So that would be an incredibly expensive fix if those folks had to hire attorneys and sort this out. That's where your title insurance is going to be bang for your buck.
And that's an interesting example, because if the legal description in the deed outlined all 70 acres, that probably means the legal description in the mortgage included the same 70 acres, which means that buyer's mortgage financing likely encumbered the entire subdivision. So when that buyer went to sell, this is when Sarah became involved in the transaction. That first transaction had to be unwound by the title insurance company. Title insurance is a one-time cost. It's paid at the time of closing, and it will protect a buyer for the full duration that they own the property. So that means the legal fees to unwind that transaction, correct and cure that original deed, and to deal with the mortgage lending company to modify the mortgage, the legal description in the mortgage, was all handled by the title insurance company. And the time for closing to either refinance or sell was incredibly shortened and can stay on track because a title insurance policy
It's the cheapest insurance anybody can ever buy. It's a one-time purchase, unlike homeowners insurance, which is every year. And people are happy to buy that just in case their house catches on fire. They don't say, well, my house has never caught on fire, so I won't buy it. So when you think of title insurance, one purchase, and you amortize that over maybe 20 years of staying in the house for protection, it's very affordable.
I will also say that when you purchase title insurance, we are completing a comprehensive title examination. We're working with our title underwriters to prepare the title for closing. So it's a policy that actually prepares you for closing by sometimes cleaning up and correcting and curing the title before you get to the closing table. I have another example of an interesting title problem that came up where someone went to sell their property and the new buyer obtained a survey of the property as part of their due diligence. They wanted to put an addition on the house and they wanted to make sure they knew where the house was situated in relationship to the boundary lines. So they completed a survey, and the survey revealed that the house, the structure of the house and the foundation itself, encroached on the neighbor's property line. So that means that a portion of this house actually was situated on the neighbor's property. And because that homeowner had a title insurance policy, they were able to use that policy to pay all of the legal costs associated with, there's a couple of fixes that could be pursued, either a boundary line agreement with the neighbor, which has to be dealt with in cooperation with any mortgage lenders involved that have mortgages encumbering either property, or an easement where the neighbor would allow that homeowner to use a portion of their property for their house. Easement being granted also requires cooperation of mortgage financiers that are involved, and also sometimes consideration, money. That neighbor required some money to be paid to them in order to cooperate with that fix. That money did not come out of that homeowner's pocket. It came directly from the title insurance company, and that's the benefit and the beauty and the power of title insurance. So if you have any questions about title insurance or would like to learn more, please contact us here at Hudkins Title and Hudkins Law. Thank you.